Hi, Dan.
Hey, dude.
Hey. Been a busy morning, I guess.
Bit of a busy morning. Yes, nice to meet you, though. Yeah,
Lovely to meet you.
yeah.
I want to say I loved Prey. I thought it was amazing, and I've kind of want to thank you for giving me the film that I've been waiting for since that ending in Predator 2 when Danny Glover got that flintlock pistol. It's kind of that little seed was planted in my little mind as a teenager, and I kind of want to thank you for kind of fulfilling that dream there, I guess.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, the seed was planted in mine as well. So
Yeah.
that was the thrill, was to finally make the movie that teased.
Yeah, and I read that you were a big fan of the original '87 film. What did you like about that, and in what ways did you kind of how did Predator 1 and 2 kind of influence you?
Well, quite specifically, in the original, because I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies as a kid. I remember distinctly being in third grade and was in a carpool on the way to a karate tournament. All the sixth graders had all just seen Predator, and they described the entire movie to me, including a moment where they said Billy, the Native American tracker, fights the Predator on a bridge over a waterfall. And then I eventually saw the movie, and that scene is not in it. Um, so I mean, it's basically implied off camera.
Yeah.
So the seed for this movie specifically was planted even in the '87 film, and I've been dreaming about making something like this ever since. Really. Um,
Yeah. That sounds like a movie in itself about you going to a karate tournament and then being inspired by Predator to
yeah.
win. That's very Cobra
Oh,
Kai.
yeah, I definitely remember getting fourth place and getting a medal and it feeling like really like this doesn't mean anything. Um, but yeah, so I don't know how good that movie would have been.
Why do you think that the character of the Predators lasted so long and kind of continues to be this kind of fictional character that people still kind of love and still kind of want to see films about?
I think most of it can be attributed to the design of the creature.
Mm.
I got messaged by a father and daughter when this movie was announced, and they're both um, in Predator costume. And the 8-year-old daughter said in the message that, like, I'm so excited for your movie. The Predator is my favorite movie. I've never seen it, but it's my favorite movie. Um, and I think, yeah, it's just the design of that creature by Stan Winston originally really captured, just sort of like hit just like the xenomorph
Mm.
before it just like plucks the right strings from an aesthetic standpoint. And I think really nailed the thing that's very hard in designing alien creatures, in making something that feels advanced and sentient, um, and bipedal, and somewhat humanistic, humanoid, um, while also feeling alien.
Mm.
And that's something that I really wanted to embrace with this movie, is make our creature feel much more alien and creature like. Now that we're not limited by as many things as we were in 1987, I feel like sometimes bits of the other films have sort of rested on the laurels of the original design, and I really wanted to give that excitement back. So even diehard fans of the franchise can feel surprised again when they see
Mm.
different stages of the Predator creature in this movie.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think what you do so brilliantly is the build up to that is how you keep him cloaked for quite a long time. But I mean, because the technology is advanced, the cloaking just looks so good. But also, what I liked about the cloaking was you made basically every shot there was kind of danger. There was almost like you. Sometimes I was almost looking for, is the predator even there?
Mhm,
Like, and I
mhm.
guess sometimes he is there, sometimes he isn't. But I just loved how you did that with the tension, and it brought back that tension that I think, like you say, it's kind of been missing from some of the later films because you kind of know what to expect.
Yes. Yeah, even I'll just say about the cloak, like it doesn't work that well. It fritzes in and out quite often. But because we've made this movie in 2022, it is rendered with more modern sensibilities. So it's this interesting mishmash that, frankly, I used Rogue One as a signpost, because Rogue One really re-embraced the original 70s vibe to Star Wars design, but it was all rendered with modern sensibilities. So we try to do the same, in that this feels like it would be prototypical in the technology, but the way in which it's aesthetically rendered is pretty and interesting and slightly more modern.
Yeah. And how did you go about the kind of, so the Predator design? Like you say, it is quite different. There are different weapons. It's very interesting. You can almost see like the progression of the weapons there. That must have been quite a big challenge to do something that is advanced, but also backwards from the advancement that we've seen. That must have been very hard.
Absolutely. One of the biggest challenges, and only made harder in that, because, as I said before, I really wanted to feel much more creature-like. And so for me, that meant removing most of its armor, so that you could see the form and the skin more. And that meant that a lot of the weight of the storytelling and saying this is older but still advanced was all on the weaponry and how those things were rendered. So it was a challenge, but I think it bred some really fun, cool new toys. And the lack of armor in particular is what created the idea for giving him a shield, because if not armored, he needs another way to protect himself. But then that shield is used in very fun ways, and still feels like it's a combination of old and new as well. So
yeah, I mean, I once the screening ended, I almost wanted it to start again so I could then concentrate on seeing those weapons, because you show a lot, but it doesn't kind of like, it doesn't dwell on them. He's just using them, just going through them, like almost like he would, like a warrior would, which I think is brilliant, because you just want to watch again and try and really like the net bomb and just all this. You just want to see it all again to really concentrate on it. No, I loved it. It was the design was amazing, and I think you really achieved that. Yeah, it's more animalistic. It's more scary in a way. I mean, it feels like a more scary being.
Yeah, that was the intention for sure.
Yeah. Amber Midthunder was amazing. I thought she was great. How did you come out kind of casting her, but also what makes her different to the kind of muscle bound guys that we've seen go against the Predator kind of time and again in the other films?
I think she and the character that she plays is far more relatable. I think the muscle bound guy reflects a different kind of excitement in movies, where it's much more wish fulfillment. When we see Arnold and all the other leading men of the 80s, it was always like, oh my God, I wish that I could look like that, and dispatch of bad guys in the way that he can dispatch of bad guys. It would never felt like, oh, I feel you, brother. Like, what Nadu goes through in this movie, I think, is a very universal experience of feeling like you could do something, but everyone around you doesn't think you can, and there may even be moments where you yourself question it as well, and you're desperate to prove otherwise. I think that is something that all of us go through, and makes the fight for accomplishing it so much more captivating and intense. To see that kind of character fight with, blood, sweat, and tears to make something happen. And it's so much more rootable. And yeah, I mean, when Amber first auditioned, she was able to communicate so much non-verbally, and this movie is largely told through action. And
Mm.
even when she did, there was a sort of a physical component to her audition. And she never just was like crawling and leaping and running and doing all the activities that we had set up. She was still storytelling and still finding the emotional beats inside those movements, which is
Yeah.
exactly what this movie needed. So
Yeah.
we were very lucky to have her in the movie for sure.
Yeah. My last question, because I've been told to wrap up. I know a lot of it was the entire production was kind of filmed outside. What was it like doing something so different, like filming outside rather than being in a studio, or having that kind of safety net around you?
Yeah, it was almost entirely outside. Frankly, I tried as best I could because it can be very overwhelming. Like you can do anything with a camera. You could look anywhere. Look at all of the trees. They all look the same, Really try to find a way to still make the movie feel authored and designed and contained the way that so that we could build suspense the way that you expect suspense to build in a Hitchcock film, or things like that. So I try to not let myself get overwhelmed by the outdoors. And of course, there are key moments where we really do embrace the breadth and the grandness of the
Mm.
landscape. But also wanted to make sure we were focused on suspense building and the character beats and the emotional centers of every scene, that would then reflect the filmmaking that we chose.
Mm.
So it's definitely harder with a canvas like Alberta, but I felt lucky that we were able to capture so much beauty while we were there, and still have the film feel like it's got a real driving force in it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. No, like I say, it's a brilliant film, and it's great that it's so different to all the others. Final thing, I guess a quick one. Is there any other time period that you'd love to see the Predator pop up in?
Man, there's so many that would be so cool. But I think if I were to say anything, it might be taken as
Oh.
a sign of something that it shouldn't be. So I'm going to refrain from giving any
Okay.
specifics, but I do think there's lots of cool places to see a predator in for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving us one of those places. Thank you so much. And yeah,
Thanks, man.
good luck with whatever you're doing next.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.